Lumos, what would you give to escape death? For Voldemort, the answer was everything. Through dark rituals and unspeakable acts, he created Horcruxes, objects cursed to anchor fragments of his soul to the living world. He didn't just attempt to defy mortality, he tore his soul apart piece by piece, binding it to these objects, soaked in pain and darkness. But immortality wasn't just his goal, it became his obsession. This isn't just a look at Voldemort's past, it's a descent into the darkest corners of his soul. And once you go there, you may never look at him the same way again. What is a Horcrux? A Horcrux is an object in which a dark wizard or witch hides a portion of their soul. By doing so, they become immortal. As long as the Horcrux remains intact, they cannot truly die. The act of creating a Horcrux is vile and involves committing murder, as splitting the soul requires the act of killing, which tears the soul apart. Voldemort's obsession with immortality led him to create multiple Horcruxes in his pursuit of ultimate power. However, his journey to make these objects was not without consequence. Each Horcrux came with a cost, both in terms of his humanity and the magical dangers they posed. Voldemort's Horcruxes. Voldemort's Horcruxes were scattered across the world, each representing a different piece of his twisted psyche. Let's dive into each one, examining their significance and how Harry and his friends ultimately destroyed them. Tom Riddle's diary. It started with a diary, not a wand, not a spell, just a book. Tom Riddle's diary was the first Horcrux we ever saw, though we didn't know it yet. Hidden behind its blank pages was something far more dangerous than memory. A soul fragment, alive and searching for someone to use. It found Ginny Weasley, and through her, it found a way to reopen the Chamber of Secrets. This Horcrux didn't kill through violence, it killed slowly, silently. It turned trust into vulnerability, words into weapons. Ginny was just a child, and Voldemort used her like a doorway. But then comes the moment of reckoning. In a moment of desperation and bravery, Harry destroys it with a basilisk fang. It doesn't just bleed ink, it screams. The soul fragment inside is destroyed in a rush of venom and violence. It's the first time Voldemort is truly wounded, and the first time we see what it takes to kill something that refuses to die. Marvolo Gaunt's ring. It was more than just a ring. It was a relic of blood, legacy, and obsession. Marvolo Gaunt's ring carried the weight of Voldemort's ancestry, a token of a family that clung to the past, blind to its own decay. But Voldemort didn't cherish it for sentiment. He twisted it, defiled it, turned it into something far worse than a keepsake. It became a Horcrux, a vessel of his fractured soul. But buried deep within the ring was another secret, the Resurrection Stone, a deathly hallow, a fabled object of legend. Even Voldemort didn't realize the full power of what he held. His only concern was ensuring another piece of his soul would remain tethered to the world. Dumbledore found the ring, but curiosity was his undoing. The moment he slipped it on, the curse struck. It was slow, relentless, deadly. He managed to destroy the Horcrux, but the price was already paid. His life had begun to unravel, and the ring, once a symbol of power, became his silent executioner. Salazar Slytherin's locket, heavy, cold, whispering. The locket was not just a necklace, it was a weight, pressing down on the heart of anyone who dared to wear it. Once belonging to Salazar Slytherin himself, it had passed through generations before falling into Voldemort's hands. He sealed it with dark magic, hiding another fragment of his soul within its metal walls. It wasn't just protected, it was predatory. For a time, the locket was lost, stolen, traded, until it finally found its way into the possession of Dolores Umbridge, a fitting match for something so steeped in cruelty. But its true battle began when Harry, Ron, and Hermione took it upon themselves to destroy it. It fed on their fears, their doubts, their insecurities. It whispered in their ears, sowing discord between them, forcing them to carry not just its physical weight, but the crushing burden of Voldemort's malice. Then came the moment of reckoning. Ron, tormented by its poison, raised the sword of Gryffindor. The locket fought back, visions, taunts, a desperate wailing soul. But, in a single strike, the sword came down, shattering the locket, silencing the whispers forever. Helga Hufflepuff's cup, a goblet of gold, small, unassuming, and yet drowning in corruption. Helga Hufflepuff's cup was never meant to hold something so vile, but Voldemort had little regard for sacred things. He twisted it, like he twisted everything he touched, forging it into another anchor for his existence. It ended up in the vault of Bellatrix Lestrange, buried beneath mountains of cursed treasure. A perfect hiding place, because to touch anything in that vault was to risk death itself. But even the most impenetrable walls can be breached. Breaking into Gringotts was madness. Escaping was impossible, but desperation has a way of making the impossible real. Hermione seized a basilisk fang, and with a single strike, venom coursed through the cup, burning away the soul within. The golden surface bubbled, twisted, and then silence. Another piece of Voldemort, gone. Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem. It was meant to bestow wisdom. Instead, it carried madness. The lost diadem of Rowena Ravenclaw, a relic of intellect and ambition, had vanished centuries before. Voldemort found it, defiled it, turned it into yet another link in his unholy chain of immortality. And then he hid it, not in some remote, impenetrable fortress, but within the very walls of Hogwarts, buried in the chaos of forgotten things. But fire does not forget. In the final hours of the battle, in the heart of the Room of Requirement, Vincent Crabbe conjured Fiendfire, a blaze so fierce it had a mind of its own. It consumed everything in its path, twisting, roaring, devouring, and in the inferno the diadem screamed. The soul inside writhed as the fire swallowed it whole. What was once wisdom, now ash. Nagini the snake, not an object, not a relic, but a living, breathing horror. Nagini slithered at Voldemort's side, his enforcer, his executioner. But she was more than that. She was his final refuge, his last defense against death itself. He poured the last piece of his soul into her, binding himself to something that could move, could strike, could kill. She was his shadow, his voice in the darkness. But for all her venom, for all her power, she was vulnerable. As the Battle of Hogwarts raged, as spells and bodies fell in the storm of war, the moment came. Neville Longbottom, the boy once overlooked, rose to meet fate. In a single motion, he swung the sword of Gryffindor. The blade flashed, the serpent fell. And with her death, Voldemort's immortality crumbled. Harry Potter. The boy who lived, the boy who died, and the boy who lived again. Harry had been marked by Voldemort in more ways than one. The scar on his forehead was not just a reminder, it was a tether, a brand, a hidden piece of Voldemort's soul embedded deep within him. Voldemort never knew, not until the end, not until it was too late. When Harry walked into the Forbidden Forest, when he stood before his enemy and did not raise a wand, he made a choice. He let Voldemort strike him down. And in doing so, he did what no spell, no sword, no venom ever could. He destroyed the last Horcrux. But death did not claim him. The piece of Voldemort inside him died, but Harry remained. Because while Voldemort had spent his life severing his soul into pieces, Harry's soul had always been whole, strong, unbroken. And that is why, in the end, he won. The destruction of the Horcruxes. Each Horcrux was a crucial part of Voldemort's soul, and destroying them was essential to defeating him. The journey to find and destroy each one required immense courage, friendship, and sacrifice. As Harry, Ron, and Hermione uncovered the truth about these dark magical objects, they not only learned more about Voldemort's psyche, but also about their own resilience in the face of evil. Ultimately, the destruction of the Horcruxes led to Voldemort's downfall. With each Horcrux destroyed, Voldemort became weaker and more vulnerable until the final confrontation where Harry was able to defeat him for good. The cost of immortality. Voldemort's obsession with immortality through Horcruxes underscores the dangers of seeking eternal life at any cost. The process of splitting one's soul through murder and hiding those pieces in cursed objects not only left Voldemort inhuman and broken, but also led to his eventual defeat. The Horcruxes serve as a chilling reminder of the lengths to which Voldemort was willing to go for power, and the ultimate cost of his hubris. In the end, Harry and his friends show us that it's not just magical power that matters, but the strength of love, friendship, and the willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. Voldemort's dark legacy of Horcruxes was ultimately undone by the light of these virtues, proving once and for all that no matter how many pieces of the soul one hides, good will always triumph over evil. Nox!